My name is Addison George, and I am a junior at Holcomb High School and part of the Holcomb FFA chapter. Today, I will be giving you a tour of Hy-Plains Feedyard. First off, I would like to tell you a little bit about Hy-Plains Feedyard. Hy-Plains Feedyard is a commercial cattle feeding operation in the heartland of southwest Kansas. Located in Montezuma, Kansas, within 60 miles of four major packing plants: National Beef Dodge City, Cargill Dodge City, National Beef Liberal, and Tyson and Holcomb. Hy-Plains Feedyard is licensed to feed 40 to 45,000 head of cattle at one time. Established in 1999, our everyday goal is to provide an excellent feeding environment with outstanding performance for our customers. Hy-Plains Feedyard feeds cattle for about 300 customers from all over the United States and Canada. As we start the tour, the first step as cattle enter the feedyard is that they are placed into a pen provided with hay and water. The cattle rest overnight before they are processed. At processing, the cattle are tagged with the number that identifies them, like your name identifies you. They are also given an implant that helps them grow and are vaccinated. Next, the cattle are moved to a pen where they will be fed the entire feeding period. Some customers choose to retain ownership, which means they are cow-calf operations. The calves are born at their ranch and then send them to our feedyard to be fed until they go to slaughter. Hy-Plains Feedyard collects the tag numbers on the retained ownership calf at processing and gives this information, along with individual carcass data, back to the rancher when the animals are harvested. Large groups of cattle that are coming into the feedyard may be sorted by weight to get a more uniform group of cattle going out. The next step for cattle at the feedyard is the mill and feeding process. Judd Butler, he is the feed caller and mill manager here at Hy-Plains Feedyard.
Get here in the mornings and I call feed, so I'll drive all the alleys looking at the bunks to see if there's any feed left or if I need to increase the cattle. We try to get them cleaned up before trucks, so determining how much is in the bunk or determine if I need to give them a raise to make it till the next day. After I do that, I'll enter that, get the drivers going. They start at 6 o'clock in the morning feeding. They'll use little USBs that they put into a scale head, download their feed, and then they'll start feeding. We feed three rations: step up ration, ration 1, ration 2, and ration 4 is finisher ration. So we'll start all new cattle on ration 1, and they'll be determined on how long they stay there by their weight and condition. Then they'll step to ration 2. They'll be on ration 1 depending on their end weight, anywhere from 9 days to 25 days, just depending on their end weight. They'll step up to ration 2. Once they step to ration 2, they could be there from 5 days to 25 days, depending on their end weight. A 5 or 6 weight will be on ration 2 longer before they go to finish ration. So a 9 weight, the reason they are on ration 2 less and go to 4 quicker is because they're here less days, to whereas a lighter animal will stay at the feed yard longer. So once the feed trucks get going, I'll come over to the mill where we're flaking. We flake corn. We have 4 flakers. We'll start flaking at 8 o'clock at night, and we'll shut them off between anywhere from noon to 1 o'clock the next day. We run a 27-pound flake to get our starch availability, which helps the cattle. We put flakes, alfalfa, wet distiller's grain, steep, fat, and a liquid finisher in the ration. It's formulated by a nutritionist who helps us out. He formulates it so we know exactly which percentage to put in each ration. Ration 1 doesn't get the fat, but ration 2 and 4 do get the fat. It just helps the cattle finish better. We have 2 mixers that we make 11,000-pound batches. He'll start about 2 o'clock in the morning and make anywhere from 7 to 80 batches a day. We mix all the ration 1 and 2 on the truck, so they'll get their liquids and then they'll pull out, and the loader will load their roughage, the hay, the wet distillers, and the flake in the truck. They mix it, and then they'll deliver it to the pens.
This is Dr. Miles Thur, the research director at Hy-Plains Feedyard.
Hello, and today we're going to going to talk a little bit about the growth safe system and see with video of cattle eating out of this system where we can measure individual animal intake. So you think of all the kids, we can figure out which one of you ate how much and through that. So here on this screen, all of these nodes where those calves are eating from, over what's going on with those. When you see on here one of these is orange, it means a calf is in there actively eating, and green means that the calf's idle. So you can also look here, pulling up on an individual pen, you get to see here at the top is one animal's eating history behavior for the past 53 days is what we have highlighted. We're seeing the ups and downs with it. So like similar to you, some days you maybe have a hollow leg and want to eat your parents out of the house. Cattle have some of those same eating behaviors and patterns. And we use these tools and technologies to find cattle that are overall trying to eat the least and gain the most weight for improved efficiency in the feed yard.
Every day here at the feed yard, the cowboys ride the pens to monitor the health of the cattle. If they think one is sick, they will pull or take it out of the pen, then take it to the hospital. The sick cattle are taken to the hospital where they get their temperature taken, and the person doctoring determines what is wrong with them. If the cattle are sick enough, the animal is doctored, and that information is recorded in the computer with their tag number. Cattle stay at Hy-Plains Feedyard until they weigh about 1,300 to 1,400 pounds. That would be about 120 to 250 days at the feed yard, depending on their receiving weight. Once they have reached that weight, Tom and Rodney, the feed yard managers, and their customers work together to determine the best window of marketing for their cattle. Buyers from the 4 major plants visit the feed yard weekly to determine what cattle they want to buy. Once the cattle have been purchased, the buyer contacts the feed yard to pick up the cattle within 7 days of purchase. On the day the cattle are scheduled to be picked up, the cattle are weighed by the cowboys, first thing in the morning and put in a pen to be picked up by the packing plant. Hy-Plains is unique in that they always have a special project going on, like working with ABS on data collection and the research being done on the part cattle play with global warming with the purchase of the green machine. This is Grant Sardella, the beef data coordinator with ABS.
So a little bit of my role here at Hy-Plains is to create a partnership with Hy-Plains Feedyard to collect all of the data that are our genetics at ABS Global. So a big thing that has become really popular just in the recent years is what we call beef on focus. So that is where we take Holstein and Angus and cross them genetically to produce a calf that is really sustainable and efficient long term.
This is Tom Jones, the partnering manager at Hy-Plains Feedyard. He's going to talk about the green feed machine, which measures methane and carbon dioxide levels.
Great, thanks for coming out here. We want to show you guys this machine. It's kind of unique to the feed yard industry. There's 225 of them in the world today, but we thought we'd have one. We have a research center out here. So one of the things that we're challenged with today is climate change, and a lot of climate change is caused by greenhouse gas emissions. And the reason that we got involved with this company that makes these machines is to find out how much carbon dioxide and methane that cattle really do emit. So cattle are ruminants, so they're different. They have 4 stomachs. Humans have just 1 stomach. So they will manufacture a lot more carbon dioxide and more methane than we will, and they emit it into the atmosphere. How much? Well, we don't know, so we're going to find out with this. So I'll tell you a little bit about this machine. In the top part of it right up here, we'll keep alfalfa pellets or corn flakes in here. It's a feed that cattle really like. So we'll entice them to come up and stick their heads inside the machine. And once they know the machine knows they're in there, well, it will turn itself on and it will drop cornflakes down into the bottom of this thing right here. And you can see there's air holes that are around that, all over that though. So I'll explain why we have those air holes around. Once they stick their heads in there, the feed is dropped down into it, then a fan turns on and pulls up whatever air is in here and whatever the cattle have belched up, because they're ruminants and they expel the carbon dioxide and methane by belching, and they'll belch about 2 times a minute. So we'll want to hold them in here for 4 minutes so we can get a reading on how much of those 2 greenhouse gases that they're emitting. So they'll belch into it, and it's pulled up into the system, and then a computer separates the gases away from just the oxygen or the atmospheric air, and it measures how much of methane and how much carbon dioxide actually the cattle have belched out. So our reason we want to have this out here is maybe there's different feeds we can feed these cattle that they'll produce less methane, less carbon dioxide. Maybe there's different breeds of cattle that will manufacture less methane and carbon dioxide.
After all these steps we talked about today, I hope you learned how beef is produced. Have you ever eaten a cheeseburger at McDonald's? If so, these steps would be how that cheeseburger was produced. Thank you to everyone working at Hy-Plains Feedyard for talking to me today about the feed yard industry.